Hello and welcome to our webinar today, From Cold Call to Close, a look inside DiscoverOrg's sales department. My name is Henry Schuck. I'm the co-founder and CEO of DiscoverOrg. I'm excited to bring this webinar to you today, where our plan is to really show you inside of what makes our company operate, what's delivering 20+ million a year in new business, and what we're doing to generate that from an inside sales and sales development perspective. My Twitter handle is @HenryLSchuck. DiscoverOrg's Twitter handle is @DiscoverOrg. So feel free to tweet us before, during, or after the webinar. If you're not familiar with DiscoverOrg, we're a sales intelligence tool that helps people in sales and marketing at technology, consulting, staffing, hardware, software companies connect with their buyers at the right time through really detailed and highly accurate information on the IT, marketing, finance, HR, and sales decision makers at the largest companies across the country and around the globe. And so we're covering over 60,000 companies and the buying and decision makers at those companies, and keeping that information constantly updated through a team of over 200 in-house researchers. So that's our product, but how do we get it out to market? That is fundamentally through a sales development team. And that sales development team came to be through a variety of different steps. And to talk through them originally, DiscoverOrg as a company and our sales team was completely dependent on leads that came in from marketing through inbound through our website or outbound through large email campaigns that we were doing. Not only scales to a certain point. So at one point, we brought in an outsourced provider inside sales team that would go out and generate qualified appointments for us. That worked really well for us. And then we decided, look, let's bring in some internal SDRs as well. So for 2 years, we had just 3 SDRs on our team. In the last year, we've grown that to 15 in-house SDRs, while we also continue to have 8 inside sales team reps who work on our behalf. And they continue to do a great job for us. And I think even today, that 15 number is more like 22 in-house SDRs. And wins from cold calls or outbound prospecting are now our number one source of new business. And so the investment in that model has truly proven itself to us. And so what are we? And so there are a number of things that we're going to talk through today in this presentation, but here's what we're focused on from an inside sales and SDR perspective. 1, hiring right. 2, the metrics and transparency for the group. 3, aligning compensation. 4, getting messaging right. 5, making sure our sales stack, our tools and technology are aligned. Making sure we have the right data. Integrating all of the systems together. Coaching, making sure there's a career path, and the culture of our company. We'll spend a good amount of time on metrics and transparency and what metrics we're looking at and how that's integrated through Salesforce and being delivered to our SDRs. So what qualities do we look for? These are much easier on paper than they are to really pull out of an interview, but we're looking for people who have confidence, intelligence, coachability, work ethic, energy and conviction, prior sales experience, and fit with DiscoverOrg. Now, any one of those things are important, and we rank those 1 to 5 on each of these things, and then we weight them. So, for example, fit with DiscoverOrg is weighted more than intelligence. And coachability is rated more than energy and conviction. And so a 5 on coachability is worth more than a 5 on energy and conviction, because we know that we can coach you. If you're coachable, then we can coach you on energy and conviction. You should be coachable on that as well. So these are stack ranked, and so you can do them in whichever way feels good for your company, but these are the things that we're looking for in every interview with an inside sales rep or sales development rep. So how do we find people? We post for positions on LinkedIn, on Craigslist, on college job boards, and we use staffing firms, especially in times where we need to ramp our teams quickly. Staffing firms help us plug the gap for what our internal recruiting and hiring efforts may not generate for us. So we struggled a lot with this. There were times where we were hiring 3 or 4 sales development reps, and then within 3 or 4 months, they had all churned out, and we scratched our heads and we slammed our heads against the wall trying to figure out what worked and what didn't work. And so the first thing that happens with a inbound interview request or job applicant is they do a phone interview with our in-house HR team. If that goes good, sort of the central piece of DiscoverOrg's hiring model for really for everybody now, but especially for our sales team, is an Omnia cognitive assessment. Omnia is a company that does cognitive tests. They test you on your verbal and mathematical abilities. Think of it as like a 15-minute SAT test. What we did before we started using Omnia is we gave the Omnia to all of our successful sales reps. And then we looked at it and we realized that the reps that were most successful with DiscoverOrg were scoring 80 or higher on the Omnia test. And so that was just a requirement for future reps, that because we're a fast-growing company, there is just a lot to absorb and not enough like one-on-one long periods of time where we can coach you and bring you up to speed. And so having a high level of intelligence is really important to succeed in this environment. That may be different for you guys. It was critical for us and made all of the difference. And now, since we started hiring specifically for SDRs, we have not churned one SDR employee since we started using the Omnia test, because they tend to be successful now when they come in. After they take the Omnia test, if they pass that, they do a panel interview with our sales VP and our business development manager. We do reference checks with them, and not just who they tell us to hire, but really we're looking for offline references. And so we'll go on LinkedIn and we'll reach out to a past sales VP or manager and try to get a sense of their reference on the individual. So then welcome and training. And so we try to lock this down really well. Luckily for us, we're of a real scale today. And so we have a training department that helps us do this. But, one of the things I'll never forget is our #1 sales guy. He still talks about how the day that he showed up at DiscoverOrg, we had his office set up, his computer was set up, he had business cards on a whiteboard in his office. We had written "Welcome, Stephen," and how great that felt for him. So don't underestimate the power of the first day of work. Make sure that your days are structured. That they understand that you've put energy into welcoming them into the organization. So our onboarding is really a mix of classroom sessions, so training on how an IT department is structured and what our clients do, training around our competitors and the product and the platform. They shadow senior reps, and then one of the biggest things we do is we put them through a series of video recordings of classroom sessions and demos. And what that does for us is it allows the head of sales to not have to be in the room throughout the entire day, because we've recorded these sessions. Each of those sessions would have taken 1 to 2 hours of a manager's time. Instead, we've recorded them and we've put them into a training platform, and then our reps are able to go through that platform on their own, and they can go back to it and reference it multiple times. We also give them 2 documents to memorize: a cold call script and a features and benefits script. Even though after the first week at DiscoverOrg, we don't want them reading straight off the script, we do want to give them the solid foundation of knowing from a script sort of how things work. Throughout the first 2 weeks of training, we're giving them a series of online tests as well. So, for example, we'll give them a list of 20 companies and we'll tell them to fit rank them as customers of DiscoverOrg. Is this a great customer? Is this an okay customer? Is this not a potential good customer for us? And they're taking vocabulary tests on sort of general business concepts and business vocabulary that they're going to hear every day. You'd be surprised how many people don't know that a vertical is synonymous with an industry. And so you don't want them to learn that on a call their first time. And then all of this culminates in a final test on the last 2 days where they have to successfully cold call the executives at DiscoverOrg and answer objections and questions proficiently. They don't get to become an SDR at DiscoverOrg unless they make it through that final test. So another piece of the training that we bring them through, you'll never, this is such a great piece that we do because it's so interesting to hear your reps. We believe that conviction and passion are key to being successful. We don't want people to sound like, and I get a lot of cold calls, and generally the person on the other line really sounds like, hey, I'm calling you because it's my job, but I'm not really excited about what I'm offering you. And that's not a tone that you want your reps getting across to your buyers. And so we focus on this. We make them call us, leave us a voicemail, and then we play it back to them. We say, look, how do you think your tone sounded? Now, inevitably, they sounded flat and boring, and we ask them to do it again. And inevitably, they still sound boring and flat. So then we make them stand up, and we tell us, now pitch us the same pitch, but be way over the top. Like, be absurd. Be absurdly over the top. Just go crazy. And then we record that, and when we play it back, even though they felt like it sounded ridiculous, when we play it back for them, it just doesn't sound that bad. And so we reframe the idea of conviction and passion for them because we believe that that's critical. Because you're not face-to-face with somebody, the way your tone sounds over the phone and how convicted and passionate you are about the product is absolutely critical. And so we spend a lot of time on this with our reps as well. And so once they're trained and they're getting ready to be a sort of a full-fledged rep, we make sure they understand what key KPIs we're looking at. And so for DiscoverOrg, we're going to keep score on our reps, and we're going to tell them up front, be super transparent about this. But we're going to look at connections. We're going to look at how many demos are created. Then we're going to look at how many of those demos that get created are completed. And then we're going to look at how many opportunities are created from those demos that completed, and then how many wins. And so this is the funnel for inside sales: connections, meetings, completions, opportunities, and wins. And every single one of these pieces are important to the success of our reps. And everybody sees these stats. They're dashboards in Salesforce. They're up on the walls across the company, and so reps know that they're being judged on these metrics: talk time, calls, outgoing calls, and connect. Those are the important metrics that we're looking at. So then we look at complete rate by rep, because it's great that you're setting a bunch of meetings, but what percentage of those meetings are completing? And so it's really important for us to know that that the work that we're doing to set the meetings are actually completing. And to that end, we're constantly optimizing the completion rate. And so one of the things that we realized was that the length of time between when a meeting is set and when it actually takes place makes a huge difference in the outcome of the demo. So we work to get the demo scheduled within less than 5 days. And anything over 5 days should be avoided like the plague. We see a significant drop-off when people are setting demos outside of 5 days. So 0 to 5 days here, you can see the cancellation rate, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger as we go down. Get it 16 days out, and you can basically bank on them not showing up. So a meeting set with 0 to 5, how far the completion rate falls. And so the quality, we also take a look at quality of the meetings. And so this is a subjective measure, but an important one. So we let the account executives who take the meeting judge the quality of the meetings that are set. And so if there's a 10 a.m. meeting that's set at 10:05, the AE gets an email that says, how did the meeting go? And the email links him to an event in Salesforce. He marks it completed, and then he scores the quality of that meeting on a 1 to 5 score. So it's a golf score, and so 1 is is great and 5 is bad. And then we're judging the SDRs by that metric as well. So what is the subjective quality of the meetings? And then we're looking at the volume and distribution of the demos that we're setting. And so this is really important because as the volume of demos scales, you need to make sure you're measuring the distribution of that volume. So demos per account executive per month and demos per account executive per day, those become important metrics to keep track of because they ensure that you're getting the optimal follow-up against those records. There is a magic point, a magic number, and you'll have to figure it out in your organization, but there is a magic number for the number of demos per day that the number of new demos per day that an account executive can handle, and you want to really gear that in. Too little, and they're twiddling their thumbs. Too much, and they can't do proper follow-up, and you're going to see it in the win rate, especially in competitive situations. And then we send a pre-demo survey out, and once the demo gets set, there's an automated email that's sent out the day before a demo from the account executive to the prospect. And so the email serves as a reminder to the prospect that the demo is happening, and then it invites them to answer some questions to allow us to better prepare for the meeting. So those results are written right back into Salesforce. They're sent to the account executive to help them customize the discussion. It provides, not only does it provide incredibly valuable information ahead of the meeting, but it's also a great indication of the quality and the engagement of the prospect. So for example, prospects who complete the survey, prospects who complete the survey complete the demo at a 90% rate and have a 46% higher average contract value when they close than prospects who don't. If you're big enough to have a finance department, look, I'm a CEO who views finance as a mechanism to help the department at the company run better. And so we lean on finance incredibly hard to make sure that they're giving us the dashboards and the metrics that are necessary for us to do the jobs better. So this is just a Hangouts message I sent John Gardner, our CFO. So can you send me the best dashboards for sales development reps? And I asked, like, one of them would be the number of days out the demo is set. So weekly or monthly, either, sent. And that's in a matter of 10 minutes. And so if you have a finance department and hopefully your CEO shares the same sentiment as I do about the work that they should be doing, make sure you're closely aligned with them and that they're giving you dashboards and metrics that can help you do your job. So our compensation, we want to align incentive with control. So for sales development reps, they're paid per meeting that's completed good fit. And so remember, we let our account executives rank the meeting. If they get ranked a 5, they don't get paid for the meeting. And so if the meeting completes and it's a good fit, they get $15 if it was an inbound lead, $30 if it was an outbound cold call, plus a 1% win fee on outbound won deals. And so our quota for our reps is 20 outbound completed demos per month. And then for our inbound reps, it's 60 inbounds and 15 outbounds per month. Our sales development manager has bonuses for the team hitting outbound quota, so the 20 per ramped rep, and then a separate bonus for the team achieving inbound quota. And our inbound quota looks at the conversion rate on inbound leads. So a 30% conversion rate on our inbound leads is what we're looking for. So messages and scripts, we'll just hit this really quick. Specifically, you don't want to be talking about on the phone what you do. You want to be talking about how you can help them. And so this is, we grabbed from Michael Padone at Sales Buzz. This is a great just sort of an entry line at the bottom. Hi, John. The reason for my call is I noticed some holes in your social media strategy that could possibly be fixed for a fraction of the cost most marketing companies are charging. Like, that is incredibly compelling. It's so much better than, hey, Henry, we provide targeted advertising, social media, email marketing, SEO, and affiliate marketing services. So talk about results. If you have social proof, talk about social proof in an industry that's close to them. Partner with marketing to keep reps accountable. So what you're looking at on the screen right now is when marketing identifies a trigger. For example, a company got funding, or there's a new VP of sales. they enter that information into Marketo, which generates a trigger notification email out to the SDR. When they get that, they have 3 days to make contact. If they haven't made contact with the person after 3 days, an email gets CC'd to the VP of sales that lets them know that they haven't gotten hold of this trigger. And if it goes 5 days, then an email gets CC'd to me that says the person hasn't gotten back to this trigger. So nobody wants to get to the 5 days, and so they're doing everything they can between getting this trigger, because we feel these triggers are critically important at being in the right place at the right time, and marketing has the full thing automated. So you want to make sure you're mapping out the plays. And so you want to map out the steps your team is going to take as they prospect, because it helps ensure you have the right sources engaged, the right resources engaged at each step. So think through sort of what the steps are for your cadences and your touch points, and how a prospect sort of routes through a sequence, and make sure you have that mapped out clearly. So what does a typical sales stack look like? So there are a bunch of different things that you can use here, and these are just some examples of different tools. Video, retargeting, email automation, tools like Outreach and SalesLoft and Tellwise are great tools there. Lead routing, lean data is a tool that we use. Dialing, there are tools like Outreach and SalesLoft also have a dialing platform. Tools like RingCentral and FrontSpin and 8x8 are really great tools to leverage for dialing. And then our CRM system, obviously, is Salesforce. But the thing that feeds all of these is, for us, DiscoverOrg data. We'll talk about this in a second, but you need really great data at all of these different points in order for any of these tools to be successful. Don't go spending money on a dialer and an email automation tool if you haven't spent money on a great data provider, because those will be wasted investments if you don't have great data. And integrate as much as possible. So to get the best return on your technology stack, you want to make sure that all of the technology and tools that you have invested in are working in concert. And you want it to be cohesive, otherwise utilization and usage is going to fall on all or most of these. So we're very lucky. We have a great sales ops, a great head of sales ops who've integrated all of these tools together so they work really, really smoothly. So it's critical to integrate as much as possible. So I mentioned data being the lifeblood of sales, and it absolutely is. And this is a really great example. I went through this. I was curious what it would take for me to go through basically a call cycle if I didn't have great data. And so here's what it looks like. And your reps are going through this if you haven't invested in a data provider yet. Your reps are going through this every day, and it's absolutely painful because they're working hard, but they're not getting anywhere. So they log into Salesforce, they pull up a list, they notice the first list is no longer there, they notice the company is a good fit, so they start searching online or on LinkedIn for better contacts. They find some names where they don't have emails or phone numbers. They navigate to the company's website, they try to find a switchboard number, they call the switchboard, they hope the person's there, they get transferred. In a good situation, they get transferred. In a bad situation, they realize that the prospect's no longer in the directory. And so that's 12 minutes of just wasted time. If they got a good name, they can leave a voice message. They manually type that data into Salesforce. They start Google searching for a new email formula or an email formula for the company. They find one. So if you are investing in SDR team and you're not investing in data, it's a fooled effort. You have to be investing in data to make your SDR team successful. This is the team that we have doing research on prospects every single day. And you want to tie the entire process together. And so this is an example of a cadence that we use where we outline when you make a call, when you make an email, when you connect on LinkedIn, when you connect with someone on Twitter. Those are all really important steps along the way, and you want to make sure that it's mapped out clearly. And so then you're on to coaching. And so what do we do for coaching? First of all, our office layout is wide open, and so you're able to hear how other people are dealing with issues. It also sort of opens up an opportunity for collaboration amongst the different team members. We record calls, and so we're going to listen to your calls or barge in on calls with you so we have an understanding of how you're doing. We have weekly meetings where we review team performance, and we do regular one-on-ones to role play and strategize. And you want to make clear, you want to set up a real career path for the SDRs. And so our career path takes an outbound SDR through a series of milestones, brings them into the inbound SDR role, takes them through a series of milestones, takes them through a tryout to become an AE. And each milestone comes with something. And this is just something we borrowed from our friends at Sales Loft. And so the first milestone might be a lunch with the CEO. The second milestone is a DiscoverOrg pullover. The third is parking in my spot for 2 weeks. The fourth are Trailblazer tickets. The fifth is noise canceling headphones, and on and on. And these become important things for the SDRs to achieve. And I'm just in the nick of time. Thank you everybody for joining. We're happy to talk to you more about how we structure it, or if you're looking for a great data provider, please reach out to me, hlschuck@discoverorg.com, or shoot me a tweet at Henry L. Schuck, and we'll be happy to talk to you. Thanks a lot for joining.